Yo, what's good, duelists? Some of you have asked me for an updated Tearlaments list, and I do have that today. So there's a lot of different things to think about with Tearlaments, though. Do we play Shaddolls? Do we play the Horus package? Do we play Revolution Sync Around with Adventures? Do we play the Sinful Spoils package? But with Arise Heart being banned, this deck definitely got a huge boost. I definitely think it's one of the best decks. I would say, we have Unchained, we have Pearly, we have Rescue Ace that's getting an insane buff next set. So Rescue Ace, I think, is probably the deck to be, probably the best deck. Tearlaments, which also I think might be the best deck. So there's a lot of things to consider with this. So I'll just get right into my list. Sorry, that wrong one. The thing is, I wanted to play a lot of more hand traps in this, so I did cut the Shaddolls in this list. It's really hard to fit like all the Shaddol cards in the extra deck, especially if you're running like the Cartesia Fusion. The extra deck for this deck is so tight, especially with SP coming out. I think SP is a card that every deck wants to play in its extra if it can. So it's pretty essential. I'll go through the list kind of card by card. So Rhino, it's obviously a two of, a two, a one of maybe even, but having the Rhino in the deck or having the Rhino in the graveyard definitely comes up where you'd rather not use like Beast King in the Swamp to make a Kaleido. We have the Sharon, obviously the Tears, the Ishizu package, and then we have the Horus cards. So another thing that makes these Horus cards so busted, by the way, is it gives you Mud Dragon fodder. So I make Mud Dragon a lot with this list. So because it's a spellcaster and it's a dark, you have this just like inherent Mud Dragon fodder, which you kind of had with the Bystials in the past. It kind of fills that slot, but it's a lot more power going first than the Bystials, obviously, where those were more so hand traps. And I only have one Fenrir. Fenrir obviously was way more broken when Kashtira is being played. Just for that matchup, it's a scary card. Even if you're not playing Arise Heart, just summoning it makes them scared because you could go on Arise Heart. But I have 3 Tier Cash still because Tier Cash is just broken to mill. It's plus 2 mil, right? Or plus 1 mil. Why not just see more cards in your deck? The reason I said that I want more hand traps with this deck is because it just sucks when you use the Tier Cash going second versus your opponent because it's just too gambly. Like if I'm banishing a tier card, I already have to have a tier card, and then I'm banishing it to summon this, which is only milling 3. It definitely doesn't feel as good as Hobness because I'm going neg 1. It's like I'd rather just have a Fenrir going second, as crazy as that sounds, just to get some more removal. I only have 2 Scream. I was running 3 in the past, but this deck is just so tight. With the Horus package, the deck just gets so much tighter. 2 Sulik. I still feel like 2 is mandatory. I don't run Meta Noise because Cash is out of the format, so I don't feel like Meta Noise will be that essential anymore. The 2 Diviner. I think 2 is a good ratio. Obviously, it could be 1 or 3. It's really just... You just need it in the graveyard because of Cross Sheep, so you don't really need to draw it. But even when you draw it, going first, I mean, just triggering a Guido or a Kelbeck, it just feels like you win the game every time if you resolve those cards. So I would consider playing 3, but like I said, it's just the hand traps. I mean, we're literally only running 2 planets. That's just because the starters with the deck, I mean, you can't really go like planet into Rhino anymore, but planet into Sharon is really good. Like I do like using planet into Sharon a lot. We have the 1 pressured planet with the terraforming. This is like, obviously, if I open tier cache, I'm usually going to go for this planet. But if I don't open tier cache, I'd probably usually rather just terraforming into pressured planet and then search the Fenrir with the pressured planet against a tier cache, and it's like a pseudo +2, +1. Definitely good. 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Foolish Burial Goods, just for some more search capabilities. Obviously, we can send the Trivi Karma, which is broken because it gets us either field spell, or we can send the Select to just search a tier outright if we do open field spells. So I think Foolish Burial Goods could maybe get bumped up to 2 or 3, just depending on consistency. 3 Imperms. This could definitely be Ash if Despia Branded rises, because I definitely think Despia Branded is really good right now as well. And it's a Floodgate deck, so it's very scary. But just based off like the previous list I've seen out of the top decks, I think that, Imperm is just better right now based on the meta, especially versus a deck like maybe Obviously not Rescue Ace, but just if a lot of people are still going to play Unchained because they're maybe not prepared for the next YCS, then I think Imperm will be better. If people do prepare for the next YCS, like out the ass, then obviously I think Ash Blossom is probably going to be the main spot. It's also a level 3 normal summon, which is kind of relevant. So I would definitely consider this just being Ash Blossom. I think Nibiru is still really strong, especially versus the Rescue Ace deck. If they're not making like Herald with a bunch of hand traps or using Jet Synchron with the Sinful Spoils package, then Nibiru will get worse. But it still will get the Omni Negate or an Interrupt out of the way, which will allow you to play better and use your better cards. So it's still always a 1-for-1 usually. I was running the old King of the Swamp with Poly, but like I said, the deck is just so tight, so now I'm running Beast King of the Swamp. Yeah, I mean, I know people hate on this card so much, but it's just like, why not play the level 4 one over the level 3 if you're not playing Poly, obviously. And then we already talked about the Ash. We have 2 Druid Worms. This is for the Mirror or Unchained. The Bestial package might get brought up if a lot of people actually start playing Tearlaments. We have the Called By for going first. We have the Feather Duster, the Lightning Storms, a Regeki because we're playing Triple Thrust, and a D-Barrier because we're playing Triple Thrust, and a Crime for going first. I'm really just scared of Rescue Ace, and they do use a monster effect on your turn usually, so having the Thrust is really helpful for ensuring that you're getting that Spell Trap removal. Labyrinth also gets a buff by Kashtira not being relevant, so I think Spell Trap removal is going to be a very strong call in the next format. And I think having Thrust, being able to search these cards that are at 1 and 2, is going to be a really good meta call. I think Thrust actually has a lot of potential going into the next format just because Rescue Ace gets so buffed so much. The fusions, these are like the typical fusions you always see. I actually don't make Greph with that much, but I still think having the ability of an Omni Negate fusion is just too broken. You have to play it. Cards that I would consider cutting is like Beatrice is definitely cuttable, Appaloosa is cuttable, Sprint is cuttable, IP and SP are definitely cuttable. This is if you wanted to play the Shaddoll package, because previously in this list I was playing the Shaddoll package, but without the Shaddolls, this deck just does so much on its own, and usually the hands are still really consistent. I do like having that extra mill power, but it feels like unnecessary when I'm like have all these like win cons when I go first, like the Horus cards. And yeah, I'll just show you a quick little combo of the deck. I just opened random hand, move the camera over here so it's easier to see. But this is just like how much power the deck has. So I won't be narrating it that much, but I used the Horus card, discard the Tribute Karma, so now Tribute Karma doesn't suck to draw because I can discard it with the Horus card. You can send 2 cards from your hand, including this card. Add 1 Sarcophagus, and then you draw a card. So it really replaces itself and gets you the Sarcophagus and gets the Horus in the grave for free. So this card is broken. We use the Tribute Karma to get the planet because we already had the Tearlaments cache. So it's kind of like, in this scenario, if I didn't have Tearlaments cache, I would probably just grab Fenrir, to be honest, because it's also link fodder. It's just a +1 rather than this just being like, or it's kind of like a +2 rather than this just being a +1. Use the Sarcophagus, discard the Beast King of the Swamp, so this is what I'm talking about. Like, normally you would just search Poly with King of the Swamp, but this is still like acting as acting in a way that gets value, even though we're not searching Poly, we're using it for the Sarcophagus, so it's still actually kind of good. Send the other Horus. Use the Diviner, so I don't want to go into the Vampire yet. So I just normal Diviner, see what we mill with the Yugioh. Mill 5, we mill Sulik, Sharon. I use the Sulik first because I think I want to search the Sharon. Even though I have Planet, I still think there's no reason to not use the Sulik first, because even if it blocks Ash, who's playing Bell, yeah, you probably know basic tier combo logic lines. Summon the Rukalos, now we have protection from Nib. Search the Sharon. Use the Planet. Planet is going to search another tier cache for the Sharon. There wasn't really any good other cards to search, I don't think, for my plays, because I feel like right here I already have everything I need. And we'll see that. Mill both the Medora and Keldo, so we're pretty much set with our graveyard interruptions. I milled a tier cache, so that allows me to mill 2 more. mill a Scream, activate Scream effect, get Sulik. We love our Light Sworn deck, right? Send these both, make Baron. So now I got even more protection. You can't imperm me. Now I'm using my Horus cards, so I just had access to those the whole time. Make these. I put the Baron in defense because I do feel like there's no reason not to summon everything in defense. Obviously, there's Zeus into my XYZ, but Pearly is just such a scary deck. I'd never want to have like one monster in attack and a monster in defense. Yeah, it's just because of Pearly. Use the Zombie Vampire, mill 4. We don't mill anything. So then we're going to use the Tier Cache to mill another 3. Send those 2 for Cross Sheep, I think. Yep. So that's another reason why the Zombie Vampire fodder for the Lynx, make Cross Sheep, you know. I actually think it's hard to see my grave, so I'll put my camera back over here. Then we'll use Merly over Hovness because we had to, because we foolished it. We haven't used Hovness yet. Oh, we make Kaleido here. We don't have a Rhino, so we have to use the Swamp. Kaleido summon, triggers Planet. We also should trigger Cross Sheep. I think I go back and do it, but yeah, we definitely trigger Cross Sheep there. Summon Diviner. Or I think we just summon Sharon, actually, because this is what I was talking about earlier. Yeah, so we summon Sharon. Kaleido sends the Hovness effect to fuse into Mud Dragon with the Horus guy. Now we can make Redoer, so we have another fusion interrupt on their turn with our planet broken, and then we set Sulik, so we have Keldo, Medora, and Grave with like Baron, Rukalos, Kaleido. So if they're playing Dark Ruler, they might have a chance, but they're definitely losing if they're not. And then we use Baron on our Cross Sheep just so we have no monsters in attack position. And yeah, that's the combo. So like I said, I think this deck is really strong. There's tons of things you can do, even without the Horus cards. You're just playing a tier deck. I do worry about it struggling going second, but that's pretty much it. I think that's enough for the Tearlaments update. I hope you guys have a great day. Like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot.